Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I want to thank you all for attending, and we're going to get started. Right now we have all of the attendees in listen-only mode, so if you have any questions throughout the session, please send me a message through this chat icon right above your screen. It should be green. You can send a message to the host. We're going to have a Q&A session after the presentation, and that is how we will be running that. We're really excited about the opportunity to share our research and our work with you today. We're going to talk about the latest trends in mobile strategy and social commerce, share some of our work and experience with you, and speak a bit about what you can do to reach your mobile audience. So right now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker, the Brickfish President and CEO, Michael Malarkey. Michael is an expert in cloud computing, social analytics, and digital marketing who has built a career in helping startup and established companies and leveraging emerging technologies across global markets with high-performance, results-focused teams. Michael's 25 years of experience began with Sony, advancing to lead Sony's diversified markets division, and has served as CEO of Workstream, managing partner of ODK Capital Management, and chairman of Arvio. So, Michael, it's all you.
Thanks, Megan, very much. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. As everybody's getting online, we're going to share with you a couple of thoughts. One of the things that I like to kind of talk about is this dramatic shift in the mobile space over the last 24 months and kind of throw out some did you know ideas. At the end of the day, did you know that as of today, the average mobile user will reach for their mobile phone over 150 times a day on average, which means over 10 times an hour as you're sitting there working away, you're more than likely grabbing for your smartphone. As a matter of fact, somebody on the webinar right now is probably grabbing for their phone right now as I speak. But what are people doing when they're grabbing their phone is kind of interesting. Over 20% of them are grabbing it for to do messaging. Another 20, just as many people who are messaging, 20% of them are making a call. And moreover, smartphone users are more than likely to be playing a game or an app, or 10% of the time, than he or she is even on checking in on a social network. So as prevalent as Twitter and Facebook is in our lives today, at the same amount, people are checking in and playing games and playing apps. And what's even more important, as we see this dramatic shift to social channels and people uploading photos to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and even things like Snapchat. And if you don't know what Snapchat is, we'll talk about that a little bit today. And posting photos, and sharing with their friends. But as that shifts, one of the things that we're seeing across mobile today, a huge move is something like Snapchat. And to give you an example, in the average day, over 500 million photos are uploaded to the web. 150 million of those in the month of April came from Snapchat. So this idea of this massive growth of apps across a mobile phone and driving consumer engagement is a massive shift that we want to talk about today, and how do you reach out to those consumers. So as I mentioned, we're going to jump into this very quickly. We'll try to be informative and give you a snapshot on how mobile is engaging and changing business every day. We're going to talk about some real challenges people have. We'll give you some examples on how we've been able to move businesses forward leveraging social and mobile applications. So as Megan pulled up the slide here, more adults are using their devices. Not only do 56% have a smartphone, 34% of them also own a tablet. And here's what's a very interesting trend that you'll see happening not only is the mobile percentage of increased mobile penetration happening, almost 76% of everybody in the United States today has a mobile phone. A majority of those today are smartphones. But if you look at the trend line, what we're seeing is it's growing at over 1.5 times year over year. So by the end of 2014, we could see a third of all internet traffic coming from mobile devices. So that's where your consumers are going to be. Doesn't mean they're going to be searching the web. Doesn't mean they're making phone calls. But the one thing that we know, more than 50% of the time, they're going to be messaging, playing apps, and checking in on social networks. So let's take a real quick look. 31% of smartphone subscribers, the growth from year over year, and as you can see, not only is China leading the way because of its population, the U.S. is right behind it. But if you look at the number of smartphone users and the growth that sits behind it, there's massive growth in the United States and all these emerging countries. What's interesting is they actually share more than we do, but they have less penetration. So when we go to the next slide, and one of the things that we're also starting to see is thinking about smartphones and tablets. You know, the massive demand for tablets. If you just think about the iPhone, 40 million iPhones were sold in the last 24 months. There was over 100 million tablets sold in the last 24 months. So massive growth. And it's really this shift from the PC or the desktop or a laptop to, for the first time ever last quarter, you saw tablets actually outsell both desktops and notebooks as a category. So what this is pushing really is the idea of if your target demographic is specifically where 1 in every 4 teens has access to the internet on their smartphone, and we're really talking about these teens between the ages of 12 and 17, but over on top of that, among those teens who also use a tablet, that's 1 out of 3. So we're growing up with a generation where they don't think about sitting in front of a desktop, searching on Google on a desktop, as much as they are going to be using an app to find the data that they're sourcing or engaging on the consumer behavior on a mobile device inside of an application. So as we think about it for a second here, mobile users are spending substantially more time on applications. So even though smartphone users are spending 87% of their time interacting with mobile devices on their apps, tablet owners are spending 76% of the time on these apps. So while these phones and devices are great for search, they're great for email, the younger consumers and consumers who are looking for information are doing it through applications. Okay, let me click through. So we wanted to give you a quick snapshot on 5 or 6 minutes on where the industry is and where the growth in the industry is. I'm going to give you a little example before we jump into the case study. I wanted to mention, when we talk about companies that are changing, I'll give you an example of a company that took 5% of its revenue 2 years ago that was mobilely enabled to over 45% of its revenue this year being across a mobile device. This company generates $2.5 billion in sales, and over $1 billion of that is going to be on mobile this year. And I would ask you the question of who you think it is, but again, we're in listen-only mode, but it may surprise you that company is Groupon. So as many troubles as people may think they've had, they've been able to embrace this dramatic shift across mobile applications to not only drive their business and drive their growth, they're generating $600 million a quarter, $200 million a month in their business, and $100 million a month of that is on their mobile app. So keep that in mind when you think about a company that can change or can't change. Every business can change, and every business can adopt mobile applications as it relates to where these consumers are moving. So the case study that we're going to walk you through right now is to keep in mind that Ferrero Candy Company is one of our clients. We're going to show you some ideas around mobile and digital strategy, and specifically as it related to a brand called Trolli, which is a candy brand focused in the gummy category. We're going to talk through the challenge and the solutions and the results from what happened. So when we look at Ferrero, is about $1 billion privately held candy company. It merged together with another company about a year ago. It's one of the top 25 candy companies in the world and the number 2 non-chocolate candy company in the United States today. It's got great brands such as Lemonhead, Black Forest, Brock's, and Trolli. And as it related to Trolli, last year we were trying to figure out a way where we knew that Sour Bright Crawlers was the #1 candy in the gummy category. And it had great market share. It had other products and services that it offers to retailers. But they wanted to launch a new product. So what we did is we leveraged social media to reach out to those consumers on Facebook, because we manage their pages for them. And then what we saw was their ability to, hold on a second. Okay. Their ability to turn around and ask questions of those consumers. And then we took that data and we helped create new products, new images, new packaging. And we'll give you an example of what it looked like. From that, we created evil twins. So you may be thinking right now of your little brother or your older sister, but we came up with a new product, leveraging the packaging refresh that we were going to do and launching a new product into retail, knowing that the challenge to get a client and get shelf space for that client is always very difficult at large retailers like Target and Walmart and dollar stores, etc. Half of the candy is sweet and half the candy is sour. When we asked the consumers across social networks what they wanted to see, they wanted to be able to see a candy that had characters, much like the Sour Patch Kids. They wanted to know why does good always win? Why can't evil win? So we came up with this idea of evil wins. So Trolli Evil Twins is this idea of launching it towards this 12 to 18-year-old segment, majority of it being male, who, the average consumer had $20 in their pocket, buys their own candy at convenience stores and in traditional grocery stores. So here's an example of the product. I'm going to click on through. And the way we launched the product was really about targeting a specific demographic, but at the same time, the retailer was questioning, hey, do I really need to carry another product? Don't I have 4 or 5 of your products? So what we wanted to do was, reach out, show them that the research showed that these, 14-year-old young boys who are gaming half the time want a new type of gummy product. And we came up with a new approach to it, where we said, instead of traditional media, which we know these young teens aren't watching TV anymore, if anything, they're watching YouTube and they're watching machinima and they're watching different games and videos that have been loaded up to YouTube and sharing that way. And they want to share their own experience. And then once they find something that's really cool, they love to share it on Facebook and other devices. So from that, to give you an example, we came up with the solution called Epic Evil Twins. The idea of focusing a zombie multi-shooter, multiplayer mobile game to focus on the idea of putting the candy inside the game, where the actual candy characters became the actual combat veterans, if you would, inside the game. We put it across multiple platforms, multiple devices. We built it out on Unity. We made sure that the product worked on both Android devices and Apple devices. The idea behind the game was to save the world from the zombies, but using different candy characters who were going to be, whether it's Charming Cherry or Wicked Lemon, and then actually tying the characters with other gummy products like octopuses and other things that they could throw at the zombies to squish them. So needless to say, I have 5 kids and they all play the game a lot. So as we click through, what you'll see is we throughout the entire game, not only did you find it on the packaging, but you were able to actually see the characters, very clear 3D imaging, where you were actually either playing by yourself with an artificial intelligent character, or you can invite your friends over Facebook, Twitter, or inside a game center to join you on the game, and then you could play with each other. It had a leaderboard, and people were sharing. And we launched the product, the new candy product in January, and we launched the game at the same time. And what you'll see is that there was 12 different levels they could go through. There was a store they could pick up additional devices the more that they played. But the way to actually move yourself up the levels, click through, was you'd be working your way through the map, and to get to some other additional levels through Trollandia, you would actually get inside of the game codes that were placed inside the packages. Look through again. The game had adventures modes and survival modes, as you can see. You can add players on Facebook, play with people you recently played with, see other people play against other people across the world. And then the idea behind this was Epic Evil Twins was really three-part of a cross-platform campaign. You found codes inside of the bags of Trolli Evil Twins at retail. The mobile game was downloaded. You redeemed the codes in the game for game currency, and then you were able to redeem the codes for additional prizes inside of an instant win sweepstakes that we also developed and embedded into the game and on the web. So give you an idea, everything from packaging to the numbers that you can see on the bottom was a 10-digit code to the Epic Evil Twins that you saw at retail. Everything lined up as an integrated campaign across social, digital, mobile, and apps. So from that, we tied all the fans together on a Trolli Epic Evil Twins where inside the mobile game, you were able to get a code, redeem those codes, or go get an instant win code online to be able to reward your fans for participating. We also allowed people to drive engagement through the website, knowing that they were going to win a prize, prizes that were specifically thought out for this 12 to 18-year-old category, making sure that they were going to virally and be rewarded for virally sharing this with their friends across different mobile devices. And then the campaign generated, positive feedback not only on Facebook, but on Twitter, and then across both the Apple Store and Google Play to make sure that when the product came out, there was high ratings for the game and high demand for it, where lots of consumers were sharing this brand advocacy and building brand loyalty that ultimately drove product trial. Okay. So, give it a second here. We also loaded up here. We'll make sure everybody gets a copy of all the slides at the end of the presentation. So the fans were able to share their feedback when they were winning prizes across Facebook and Twitter, sharing that with other people, making sure that the community was knowing that they were winning prizes, knowing that candy was showing up at their house, but that the more candy that they purchased or more times they engaged in the game, the more likely they were going to be able to participate. Action is down. Okay. So as you can see right here, we gave you some highlights on whether it's the Amazon store. Again, when you're building out applications, we find that the Kindle is in high demand. We see lots of people joining the Amazon store and leveraging that Android platform. Our strong suggestion is when you build out a mobile application, build it across, whether it's a game on Unity, etc., build it for all platforms. We had a tremendous amount of installs. As you can see, we created a little business around Epic Evil Labs for our Epic Evil Twins. And we had very high ratings on the iTunes store. We got through the iTunes process in about 10 days, which is a very short time frame. This game was rated for 9+. Apple asked us again, the graphics were very rich. It was a very appealing game for them to see, very engaging, and people were spending twice as much time on this game as they were spending on other games that people were playing on an iPhone. So in the first 4 months of the campaign, Epic Evil Twins, again, this is without any paid media, had been downloaded over 102,000 times on both iOS and Android platforms. The game was played over 800,000 times, or the average player paying about 8 times. We also awarded 3,300 plus winners across the Instant Win platform. And EpicEvilTwins.com, which was the .com location we set up to promote the game and the sweepstakes, saw over 1.3 million page views in that same time period. Over 93% of those who downloaded an Epic Evil Twins mobile game visited EpicEvilTwins.com. So massive conversion rate on people who were going to participate in a cross-platform opportunity. So at the end of the day, what did Ferreira and Trolli get out of this? They were able to place the product with a lot of promotion that we were able to show at the retailer ahead of time in both Walmart, Target, Dollar Store, and other fine retailers. We sold millions of bags worth of products and millions of dollars of products in the first 6 months, where the incremental margin that we generated from each product more than paid for the campaign 3 or 4 times over. And we've continued to have great shelf placement in the store where there's continued demand for the product. And now we've relaunched the campaign in a new form that you'll see continue to come out after July 1st. So what do we have today also is we have a great install base of over 100,000 people on an application that we can push out updates to. We can reward them for participating in the game. We can launch new products, make them aware that it's coming out, and we have an install base that's coming up. So again, wrapping up because I want to make sure we leave some time for everybody. The impact of Epic Evil Twins, the mobile game, the website, the social media, the brand, the image. We were able to win a 2013 Hermes Creative Award for we hit our targeted demographic. We were able to attain new product placement and trial. We drove brand advocacy, awareness, and loyalty. We have a successful product launch, a successful app, a successful social community, all by working together with the retailer, the manufacturer, and ourselves. So in following up on this, developing mobile strategies, is mobile right for you and your targeted market? Do you have an experienced mobile vendor? Schedule a free ideation session with Brickfish. So along those lines, one of the things that came out of this is, the idea of Epic Evil Twins really came down to us sitting down with the client over a couple of days and really thinking about where they wanted to go. We came back after about 2 weeks with a great strategy that went through, 12 ideas, shortlisted to 4 that we really could hone in on where we wanted to take it. So I'm a big believer that whether it's a game or another app, mobile is, whether it's right for your targeted market or not, it's where there's a strategic shift in the marketplace. So you have to be where your consumers are, and we all know that everybody has a mobile device in their hand. If you have a vendor, that's great. If you need ideas of how to tie it all together, we're here to do that for you also. But the idea is, how can you start these ideas rolling? How do you get people into your retail store? How do you get people engaged with your new product launch? Or how do you innovate products that you may have had for a while, but they need a new face to it? So, kind of in summary, the world is changing rapidly, and mobile's taking us there very quickly because the cost of the devices have come down dramatically. Technology is available to everybody. Every consumer can afford a phone almost today. And then when you're launching products, it's about building an install base. Anybody can run a promotion. Anybody can buy paid media. But once it's paid and it's done, you're going to have to step up the next month to do it again. Building out an install base that leverages social, digital, and mobile to achieve the goals that you're trying to reach is where Brickfish aligns with its customers to achieve that success. And then again, contacting our team for a demo of either this platform or any of our social platforms is some of the ideas we'd love to share with you guys today. So for those who first time on Brickfish, that's one thing. So real quick, we're a full service approach. We have a full service approach to our proprietary technologies. So whether you have an agency you want us to work with or work directly with you, we're trying to drive digital strategies that drive consumer engagement. Our core business is social media marketing with technology that enables commerce. So we believe in integrating social commerce across everything we do and believing that mobile application development as it relates to where people are going today, even if you see the shift in Facebook and Twitter, the idea of embedding mobile into everything you do and your digital plans going forward is where we can continue to help you, with our award-winning technology. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Megan.
Great. All right. We have a couple of questions that we want to make sure that we answer for everyone here. We're going to get started.
Okay. Do you want to ask the question then?
Yeah, sure. All right, let's start with, Michael, what's the first step to launch a mobile campaign?
So I think the first piece is to look across what people are doing across their traditional media marketing plan, and then how do we leverage getting that done. So our first piece is always sitting down, listening to the customer, putting everything up on our whiteboards, getting experts in the room to make that happen, but setting three clear things. Number one is this a revenue goal or is this a branding goal? Number two is, do we have, buy-in from everybody in the company to make it successful, or do we need to sell this in? And number three is, do we have the technology, or is the technology available to address the marketplace that we're trying to get to? So we ask those three questions every time we get into an opportunity. Okay.
Okay, great. The next question we have, what kind of mobile apps might be more likely to reach an older target audience than what we've discussed here? For example, the 30s age group.
So, that's a great question. We were doing some work for a consumer packaged good company last week, talking specifically about kind of the upper 20s, early 30s, millennials, and what are they looking for, specifically males. And then again, it's about taking an application, and that one in particular, we were going to build out a boxing application that was going to be branded around this CPG company to reach out to that app. And one of the things that we know is that while everybody has a phone, lots of people have tablets. So when we look away from the age piece and then try to find the application that really applies for that group, and what are they interested in, and then how do we get that propagated out there. So I would say that I won't say there's an app for everybody. I think from the Apple conference earlier this week, they just hit 900,000 apps on their store. Google, I believe, is at about 400,000. So, but the key is also one of the things we forgot to mention, Epic Evil Twins, with no paid media, was featured on the App Store within the first 10 days of its launch based on the consumer reviews. So, if the product is built and the application is built well, really with the consumer in mind, it will get reviewed. I mean, we know how to reach out to all of the reviewing sites, submitting our application to be reviewed, so that within a couple of days you can find somebody picking it up who says, hey, wow, that's a great idea, show me more about the app. And getting these independent review houses to pick it up is worth more than any paid media is going to get you there. So we believe, finding the right application for the right demographic, doing an ideation session and kind of getting to the next step. Okay, Megan? Is there another question in here?
Sure. So how did you measure ROI for this campaign? And can you maybe speak a little bit more to measuring ROI for mobile?
Sure. So, it all comes back to, all in this campaign probably cost about $400,000 from start to finish, but we didn't start with a $400,000 number. We started with how many units did we want to sell, and we knew we needed to sell, say, 5 million units, and if we were going to generate X percentage of incremental profit per bag or per unit, we wanted to make sure that the product itself was, or the campaign itself was going to pay for itself in 6 months or less, while at the same time we were going to have an install base at the end of the day to continue to build upon. So we had some minimum ROI requirements. We did an ROI statement for the client. We did a case study or a use case for them. We presented it to their senior management team because, again, it was a big expenditure. But going into it, we kind of had a low, mid, and high. Thankfully, we've kind of went through the high number, and we've done that in a couple of cases, both on social and mobile applications. And I guess at the same time, we had to take back some of our, we had to dial back some ideas too, that we weren't going to be able to go out and spend $300,000 or $400,000 on paid media. So we had to make sure there were certain things that we could leverage. If you go to the Walmart today or Target, you'll see the product. The packaging that we showed was an early version of it. The newest version of the package actually says free mobile game right on the front of the package, again, drawing people's eyes to the attention of the product, and then making sure that that the product was going to sit well with retailers. There was a tie and drive people to retail. So the ROI case, we can help a client build that out.
Great. We have another question. What kinds of apps do we do besides games, Michael?
So whether it's games or information applications, or it can be product specific around a product launch. It can also be sizing up a room. We could do augmented reality, where we can build up concepts like bringing things into the viewer, and then using that viewer to launch certain applications, and then whether it's fitting of clothes or redoing a room, things along those lines. So it really comes back to whether it's a game or an application. What's the driver behind the product launch?
Great. Do we have any advice, Michael, for any non-CPG brands who are looking to get into mobile?
Well, I think there's a lot of different categories. Education is a very big one right now, where we believe that if you're in the education field, whether it's college entrance, testing companies, online education companies, we think mobile apps is a huge way to go. We've got some ideas and concepts we've done with some clients around that area. Retailers, if they rethink the way that they're doing business, not just checking pricing when somebody's at a store, we have some real unique things that we've thought through as it relates to applications, mobile apps for retailers, and how do you drive people, whether it's outdoors oriented, sports oriented, clothing oriented. So we've got some great ideas as it relates to that. And then if we want to think about entertainment and music, we've got some great ideas and applications around those different ideas. So CPG is one area. Again, we try to focus around retailers and brands that they promote, whether it's coming from the retailer and or the company that's building out the brand. So I got this one last. Okay, one.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think that about does it.
Okay, well, hopefully we kept it to under 40 minutes or so. Well, we appreciate everybody's time. We'll get the slides out to everybody. We'll be launching another webinar in a couple weeks on some new topics. And the idea here is we'd love to work with you, but number one is we'd love for you to be informed about the shifts in the marketplace, how you can take ideas to your team to figure out ways to grow your revenue and use technology as the innovative lever that you can apply to make your business more efficient and more successful.
Yep. So thank you, Michael, for all of your time today. Thank you all for attending our webinar. Again, as Michael said earlier, we will send an email out to everyone in attendance today with the on-demand recording and the slides for your reference.